Comprehensive and educative program that brings you analysis from an objective perspective, coming to you live on BT, and we also stream it live on our website and also on our YouTube page on businesstelevision.com. My name is Weston Ni-Taki. This evening we're discussing a very important issue that touches on your life, my life, and the life of individuals nationwide. We always advocate for implementation of the appropriate and proper policy that inculcates the lives of individuals that will bring transformation for a better Ghana, where you and I can best be secured, future, present, and the past. So this evening the topic will definitely be delving on developing a world-class human resource, a case in Ghana. How developed is our human resource? What are the things we put in place to get the human resource potential of our country really moving, become a better place where we can be competitive globally? Mostly we hear people talking about Ghana is endowed with cocoa, bauxite, gold, all those, but we forget that you yourself, who is making that particular speech, you are a very probable human resource for the nation. Now the focus is going to be tonight on policy decks. How best can we develop our human resource potential? This evening, my guest this evening joining me on the show goes by the name Mr. Paul Dropson. He's an entrepreneur with many years of experience, and when it comes to leadership and training, he's really seen it all when it comes to human resource development. So this evening, we're going to be touching on this critical topic. You can also join me here on the show on 0206 583 547. That is the WhatsApp line, and definitely by 9 p.m. this evening we'll be activating the phone lines for you to also let your voice be heard on how best we could develop ourselves as nation, build our nation, and make it a better place for you and I. Now let's go straight to the discussion. Good evening, Mr. Paul.
Good evening.
How are you doing, sir?
Well, not bad.
Great. I believe we did it all that time, and this time is another day.
Definitely.
Glory be to God. So let's move straight to the issue. You know, Ghana consistently, since we attained independence, one thing that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah really prided himself about is that the black man is capable of managing his own affair. Human resource is a critical aspect of every nation's development. But how important, or what would you say is the human resource aspect of a nation that can possibly make it a formidable force in ensuring growth and productivity nationwide?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I mean, like we said the last time, the only reason why we'll be here at this time of the night and not be staring at our beds is because of the love we have for God and country. And so let me also use the opportunity to say a very good evening to your cherished viewers, and also once again to thank BTA for inviting me to be here to contribute the little expertise and knowledge we have, towards the development of our dear nation Ghana. As you rightly said, every nation has three different types of resources, which most of us are familiar with. Normally, we will talk about the natural resources, which are, of course, the God-given resources. No human being ever planted gold. No human being ever planted oil. These are all God-given natural resources. Of course, every nation also can talk about financial resources. And then also, every nation can talk about the human resource. So you realize that these are the three different types of resources that any nation can ever be endowed with. But interestingly, even nowadays, some will say that we can also even talk about technological resources. But the interesting thing is that with the human resource cannot be effective and cannot make any impact when the other resources are not available. So for instance, if you have human resource, the human resource needs to be able to exploit natural resources in order for us to be able to benefit out of it. When there is financial resources, like we mentioned earlier about technology, without the finances, there can be no technology. And so you realize that even with the technology, you still need the human resource to be able to develop the technology. And so you realize that this whole thing is very dicey, but then also it makes you understand that human resource is extremely important, because if you take all the resources we have mentioned, they cannot exist on them, by themselves. They cannot make any impact by themselves, except you have the human resource available to be able to tap those resources for the benefit of humanity.
Yeah, very, very awesome introduction there. Very important analysis that you just brought to the forefront. Now, you made a very important point also that has to do with the need for human resource to utilize all the other resources available to humanity. Now, let's take this particular analogy. The states where few individuals get to exploit or explore a particular mineral in the interest of ensuring there's equality in the distribution of benefits. In that instance, how do we bridge the inequality gap in distributing natural resources to meet human needs?
Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. I believe that this basically has to do with policies that our leadership, those in the helm of affairs, the kind of policies they implement. In fact, I had the privilege of studying outside the country, and there was one guy who was in my class who was from Oman, and that guy mentioned to us one time that when you go to his country in Oman, you will discover that oil or fuel or petroleum products is even cheaper than drinking water, because that is how the nationals will also be able to benefit directly from the natural resource of the country. Because if the country is heavily endowed with oil, the question you and I may have to ask ourselves is that how do the nationals benefit from their own natural resource? And so you realize that their government, their leadership had put in place certain measures and policies whereby in their country fuel is cheaper than drinking water. So at the end of the day, the citizens are able to see tangible benefits from their natural resource. If you take a country like Venezuela, in 2011, during the time of the late President Chavez, President Chavez came out and said that they were increasing taxes on petroleum up to 95%. And the oil companies were complaining, the multinational oil companies were complaining. And he said that it's two things. Either you pay, or we won't even exploit our resources. We will leave them for our children and grandchildren who have not yet been born to even come and exploit. And the oil companies, of course, being interested in the resource, in the oil, because they are going to make money out of it, said, Mr. President, we will pay. At the end of the day, this 95% tax increment in petroleum, which had to be paid by the multinational oil companies, led to a major increase in national income. And when their national income increased, the interesting thing is that the government in Venezuela increased the salaries of every public sector worker by 66%. And so if you are a public sector worker and your salary is increased by 66%, automatically you will feel a positive impact so far as that natural resource is concerned. And so if we look at how the citizenry will be able to benefit from their natural resources, it has to do with the kind of policies that our leaders, those in the helm of affairs, put in place.
Very awesome case study in Venezuela, which you've just put in place. And now, African countries, like we always say, has more endowed resources than the rest of the world. When they say gold, bauxite, all of them, we have it here on our continent. But what policy, is it that the policy that is being applied in Venezuela is so out of this blue, so out of the sky, that cannot, we Africans can't get a well sustainable policy that is more people-centered? For instance, like Venezuela's case, direct policy led to direct transformation of people's life. But in Africa, little do we hear such astronomical transformation.
Thank you very much. You see, the problem is that we really need to be committed to certain decisions. You know, even the Bible makes it clear that there is nothing new under the sun. So anything you may want to do, somebody has done it before. If we talk about best practice, nobody is now coming to invent best practice. Best practice or best practices are available. If there is anything we want to do, they are secrets. But if the person is generous enough, he may tell you one or two things he might have done which might have led to his breakthrough. And so at the end of the day, if you also decide to implement what he told you, you will get positive results.
You know, the case here, I went through a particular document in BAM Library, in the University of Ghana Business School, and also in the BAM Library itself. I realized that Rwanda implemented a particular policy that has to do with banning plastic waste because of its impact on human life. Although businesses need that particular product to enhance their operations, they considered the human factor, how sanitation plays a critical role. Going through that particular policy, it was a policy that was started in Ghana in 1998. That policy was drafted. Word to word, that is what is being implemented in Rwanda at the moment. And I'm wondering, if we have such a policy, and yet still the human factor is being impeded, where our sanitation is having a rippling effect, where every year there's no time that we don't hear cholera outbreak, where government is spending huge amounts of money to take care of human resource instead of ensuring that the other way around is what is going on. If we have the policy, what else do we need as a nation?
See, thank you very much. It's good to have policies, but it's not sufficient enough to have a policy. Because if a policy remains in a shelf, then you don't benefit from the policy. But when the policy is implemented, then everybody gets to benefit from the policy. I mean, this issue about wastes, I mean, which you even made reference to Rwanda. For me as an entrepreneur, and of course that is what entrepreneurs always do. Entrepreneurs always look out for opportunities. When we see, or when people see problems, entrepreneurs see solutions. Because when an entrepreneur is able to provide a solution to a problem, he makes money. This, I mean, sanitation issue you are talking about, as I'm speaking to you today, there is a technology in India that is able to convert all these plastic wastes into lubricating oil that can be used by our cars, generators, and drilling machines. The last time I mentioned on this very, I mean, program, the last time I was here,
I followed it up and I saw the video of that.
Good.
Yes.
That, I mean, according to the research that has been done, these plastic sachet rubbers takes up to 25 years to decompose. And the bottles, the plastic bottles, takes up to 700 years to decompose. And so, of course, it's very clear that if the plastic sachet rubber takes 25 years to decompose and the bottles, the plastic bottles, take 700 years to decompose, then it can give you a fair idea how dirty and filthy our country will be. But then, if we can be innovative enough to be able to introduce some of these policies, some of these initiatives, we are not only going to solve a problem, we are also going to create opportunities for people. Because at the end of the day, people who will be able to collect these sachet rubbers and these plastic bottles and bring them to your company, they are bringing you raw materials. So you are paying them for bringing you raw materials. So at the end of the day, you are creating jobs for people. And so for me, I believe that it's not just about the problem and about the policy, but the issue is that even though there's a problem, what opportunity can we derive out of the problem? Because others have done it, and we can do it also.
What does it take to develop a human resource of a country?
You have asked a very, very important question. You see, human resource development is one of the most difficult things to do. It is one of the most difficult things to do because, interestingly, if you study psychology, psychology will tell you that human behavior is unpredictable. If you study economics, economics will tell you that human behavior is unpredictable. If you study marketing, marketing will also tell you that human behavior is unpredictable. So it tells you that the human being is complex. And no two human beings are the same. Even twins, biological twins, identical twins, born from one mother, who are very identical in nature, even do not have the same thumbprint. Their thumbprints are different. So we are all unique in our own way. We are different in our own way. And that is what makes human resource development very difficult. Unfortunately for us as a country, we have tried to fashion our human resource development into our educational sector.
That is deep.
And that is what the problem is. Because you see, there's a difference between going to school and building human capacity. I mean, I once spoke to somebody, I think it was a lecturer of mine or so in the university, who told us a story, which we all laughed over it, about how a very enlightened man drove his Mercedes-Benz to Gamot for some experts, technical experts, to fix some problem for him. And here came an engineer, graduate from KNUST. He came and stood by the car, went round, looked into the car, looked under the car. For 1 hour, he had not even been able to diagnose the problem. And a friend of his told him, why are you wasting your time at Gamot? Take your car to Kokompe or to Abosokai or something. And this guy took his car to Kokompe. And some dirty guy in the name of a mechanic put some cloth on the floor, slept on the cloth, looked under the car, looked into the engine. Within 5 minutes, he had diagnosed the problem. In less than 10 minutes, he had solved the problem. This guy at Kokompe never went to secondary school, never went to the school of engineering, but in 5 minutes, he diagnosed the problem. In 10 minutes, he solved the problem. And yet the KNUST engineering graduates for now 1 hour had still not diagnosed the problem. And so it tells you that human resource development is not in the classroom. And that's the mistake that we are making as a nation. You cannot build human resource in the classroom. The classroom setup is good. At least it helps us to gain general knowledge. It opens up our mind. It opens up the way we think, the way we see things. But that is not where we build capacity. We don't build human resource in this our current educational environment, because our educational environment currently as it is does not support and encourage human capacity development. And I'll give you an example. Do you know there are people whose education came to an end simply because they failed mathematics and were never able to pass mathematics, and because of that their educational, their education had to come to an end? There are people who couldn't even continue their education because they passed all subjects but couldn't pass English language or couldn't pass science, And because of that, their education came to an end. But some of those people, if you check their backgrounds today, have become very successful and are rather employing those who were getting A's in mathematics and A's in English and A's in science.
So at what point does human resource development and education could best be synchronized to to develop a world-class individual for the country?
Thank you very much. You see, one of the things which our system does not do and does not encourage is the fact that we do not take time, and this is a job of experts. It's not just a job of excuse me to say, and pardon me, it's not a job of somebody who went to teacher training college to be trained. No, it's not his job. In fact, some of us even had teachers who even say that nothing will become out of you. Nothing will amount, out of you. You will go nowhere in life simply because you failed their subject. And sometimes some of the teachers will talk as if your destiny is in their hands. And that's why I'm saying that this issue is not something that even the teacher who went to the teacher training college to go and study to come and teach is not something they even have the capacity to deal with. The reason is because, you see, every human being has what we call a God-given gift, talent, or potential. Everybody. Every single human being has a gift, a talent, or a potential. And when we are able to help people, because you know what, it is also very difficult even sometimes for people to know what their God-given gift, talent, or potential is. It's a very difficult thing to discover. But for some of us who do some of these things on a regular basis, there are a few questions I can ask you, and based on the answers you will give me, I can tell you what your God-given gifts are. But the interesting thing is that a lot of people even have more than one God-given gift, talent, or potential. A lot of people have about 3 or 4 or even sometimes 5 different gifts. But some of the gifts are more dominant. Some of them are what we call primary gifts, and some of them are secondary gifts. And so the primary ones are the ones that normally will be very dominant. The secondary ones are the ones that once in a while will show up. Once in a while will show up. And so it is difficult. In fact, sometimes the very gift and potentials they have are even things they do on a daily basis, but they may not even know that that is my gift or my potential. It takes somebody who has expertise to be able to identify that gift, that talent, that potential, and be able to help them to add value to that gift, that talent, or that potential they have. Because when they are able to add value to it, they will make money out of it. And the issue of unemployment would be a thing of the past. Look, let me tell you, I traveled for the very first time in my life to Nigeria, to Abuja, Nigeria. The first ever time I traveled to Abuja, Nigeria was simply because I was invited to come and speak at the youth summit. That was why I went there. I didn't go there for any reason. My first time of going there was because I was invited. I wasn't invited because of the certificate I had. I wasn't invited because of the school I attended. But I was invited because they felt that I have something to impact the people who will participate in the summit. And so they felt that there is a gift. This guy has a gift. This guy has a potential. This guy has something we need, and we can benefit from that which he has. And based on that, I was invited. And that is what we all do. Arsenals may want to go and buy a player from Chelsea. Why are they buying the player from Chelsea? Because the coach or the manager has seen unique qualities in the player, and he thinks that when he brings that player from Chelsea to Arsenal, he will be able to get maximum benefit out of that player, and that player will give him results.
You know, we'll come to a point. Let's delve on the point. What made China China? How China became quite competitive globally. Now China is even in power with the United States, because looking at the market now is determined by the Chinese interest rate. The growth rate in China determines how the dollar plays globally. That's a very critical point, and how the human resource played a critical role in countries like Singapore and most countries across Africa as well. So, viewers, you're watching Policy Desk live on BTA. This evening, my guest is Mr. Paul Drapson, an entrepreneur, taking us through a very insightful education on how best Ghana can best get the human resource sector developed. We always talk about labor. Yes, it's really labor issue, discussing how best we can ensure we tap the full potential of anyone around the world, making sure that indeed we can contribute our quota towards ensuring sustainable national development. You can join the conversation on 0206 583 547, 0206 583 547. Send your messages to the WhatsApp line, and I assure you, in the course of the program, we'll be activating the phone lines for you to also call in, and we'll definitely be taking your submissions here on Policy Desk. So, still on the case of China. Now, Africa, Ghana want to become a player in global politics, a player in global economics and business. So, we have to present our best. Every citizen outside the country is seen as an ambassador of the country, an embodiment of a country, the embodiment of the culture, the nature, the psychology of the individual. So you go somewhere, are you a Ghanaian? They say yes. Now they want to assess you based on your quality. That is the extent to which the human resource is very critical for a nation as is Ghana at the moment. Now, identifying the resources, which are the human potential, what structure would you say could best be put in place to ensure that, yes, we've identified these resources and therefore the process of development could be commenced?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, just before we delve deeply into this very question you have asked, you see, one important thing which I want to touch on is the fact that we need to pay attention to what people are passionate about. If people work or they do what they do because of a salary and some allowances and bonuses they will make at the end of the month, then we are in trouble. If somebody is going to the medical school to become a medical doctor because, number one, it is prestigious to become a medical doctor, and number two, he is going to make some money, then we are in trouble. A lot of people today, and that is why as a country our level of productivity is even very low. Look, I'm telling you, Winston, if you get the opportunity, you one of these days, if you get the opportunity, go to University of Ghana, Legon, just here, go there and go and talk to people. Walk into some of our banks, go and interview people. You would find people who have done textiles at the university sitting in a bank. What are you doing there? You will go and find somebody who studied graphic design, somebody who studied horticulture, somebody who studied animal house boundary, sitting in an insurance company doing what? And so you realize that a lot of our people, if you interview them, they will tell you that they do not even love what they do, and that they are only doing what they do just to make ends meet. But if you do what you do just to make ends meet, then we are in trouble. Look, I remember when I got the opportunity to, do further studies outside of Ghana. I think my first week in school, they gave all of us papers, sheets of papers. They asked us to write what we hope to achieve within 6 months. They asked all of us to put them in envelopes. We put them in envelopes. They collected them from us. Within 6 months, we were in our homes and we received these letters. We opened them And they were the very things we wrote ourselves. The question now is that do a self-assessment and find out whether within the past 6 months you've been able to achieve that which you said you want to achieve. Secondly, we were asked to write down our career goals. In terms of our career goals, we were asked to indicate our short-term career goals, medium-term career goals, and long-term career goals. This was extremely difficult for some of us to do. Because look at where we are coming from. We are coming from a country where anything goes. People right from childhood have not been conditioned as to what they want to do. Somebody goes to school to go and study a particular course because the parents some way somehow say you have to be a lawyer. Our child must become a lawyer so that he or she can bring honor and prestige to the family. You must become a medical doctor. And so the child goes to school to go and study medicine or to go and study law and becomes a lawyer. At the end of the day, they have absolutely no passion for what they do. Is it surprising that in our hospitals people die every day? I spoke to a nurse friend of mine some time back, and she told me, she said, Paul, I will tell you the truth. A lot of people who die in our hospitals is as a result of negligence on the part of doctors. If you have a nurse who is not passionate about what she does because she's doing it for money, won't people die on a daily basis?
No, you brought two very important points. One has to do with passion and one has to do with decision by parents or onset. What is the difference between an individual working and an individual championing a career path?
You see, thank you for the opportunity once again. Like I said, when you give birth to a child, and that is why parenting is extremely difficult. The reason why parenting is extremely difficult is because you, the parent, must pay particular attention to the things that your child does. Because at a certain stage, your child may begin to exhibit certain tendencies. If you don't pay attention, you may not see and you may not know. And so parents have a major responsibility to monitor their children, to find out what kind of things do they love to do, what are their gifts, what are the things that they are passionate about, what are the things that they love to do. As a parent, when you have discovered this, it is your responsibility to help your child to develop in that area. Let me tell you, if you remember some years ago, even some of our secondary schools in Ghana here were admitting students on the basis of the fact that you are a very good sportsman or you're a very good sportswoman, because they realized that they could make use of athletes they've admitted into their schools. And even our national teams were selected from our schools. I'm aware that our late President Mills, was a national team hockey player. He was playing for the Ghana national hockey team when he was at the university. And so years ago, even when it comes to our national teams, we were selecting them from our schools. So not only were we helping them to learn academically, but we were also helping them to develop their gifts, to develop their skills, to develop their talents and potentials. Today, what do we see? Even if you remember, some years ago, if you closed from school and you went to play football, and you came back home, you would receive a beating of your life. But today, some parents by themselves are even buying the football boots and the football and the logistics their children need to be able to play football, because some parents have now discovered how lucrative football is. So it's not just about, oh, go to school, finish school, go and get a job in a bank, or go and get a job in an insurance company and sit in an air-conditioned office with suit and tie every day. And meanwhile, the people are not even happy about what they do. So when we talk about work, work is different from a career. And I can confidently tell you that a lot of people are working but are not developing a career. I'm telling you the truth. A lot of workers in Ghana are only working but are not developing a career. Because if you conduct a survey, you will discover that somebody maybe 10 years ago was working in the hospitality industry. 5 years ago, he moved to the transportation industry. 3 years ago, he moved to the agricultural industry. 2 years ago, he moved to what industry? To another industry.
Yes.
So within 10 years, one person has moved to about 3 or 4 different industries. He does not even know what kind of career he is building and he's developing for himself. You see, the reason why, even today, unfortunately for us, a lot of people are committing suicide. It's simply because some people think that if nobody employs them and gives them a job to come and work, it means that that is the end of their lives. But let me tell you the truth. Every successful entrepreneur did not have it easy. You know what Jesus Christ said? He said that narrow is the way that leads to heaven, but broad is the way that leads to hell. It is the same with doing something for yourself. It's the same with entrepreneurship.
We'll touch on unemployment case shortly right here on Policy Desk. I'm sure viewers, you're watching us in your homes, you realize that today my guest is really taking us through a very, very fundamental challenges that is affecting our human resource development. Some misperceptions, myths that have been bedeviling our development as human beings and also as resources as a country. We always advocate for a proper investment in such resources. But we'll also be assessing the productivity aspect, the labor front. What have we not been doing right to ensure we utilize well most of our labor frontiers? Because we keep hearing demonstration upon demonstration, but we don't really delve into what really is being demonstrated about. What are the real essence of why sometimes we hear teachers are on strike because of salary? What is the missing link? Why are we always having these challenges without getting sustainable solutions to these issues? When teachers go on strike, it affects the people, it affects development, it stagnates education. Now the years of which the student go to school becomes a lesson. All these are critical to ensure our national resource development is enhanced. So if you're watching us in your home, you can also join the conversation right here on Policy Desk on 0206-583-547. I'll be reading your messages through WhatsApp right now, but let's move to another very important aspect that has to do with unemployment. We know it is human beings that get unemployed, but at what point can we say an individual is unemployed? Is it when job is available and it's not getting it, or when job is, let's say, I don't really get it, because we keep hearing the figures that this country is unemployed. They give the rate, 15% of unemployment rate of the youth. Mostly it's on the youth case. So it becomes quite topical. It is objective, but at what point can we say unemployment is very dangerous to a country's development?
Thank you very much. You see, let me take you to Tunisia. The question we need to ask ourselves is that what led to the uprising in Tunisia? It was simply because a young man had graduated from university. He had started a small business to make ends meet. One day the local authorities and the police come around and they say that where this young man has put up his shop is illegal. And so they destroy his shop. Out of frustration, this young man set himself ablaze. He burnt to death. And that was what energized the youth. And they begin to mass up in their numbers. And that was what led to the uprising in Tunisia. I have said this on a number of occasions that in 2013, a research that was conducted revealed that as at the end of the first quarter of 2013, in the Eurozone, the unemployment figure had increased by 95,000 people just within the first quarter of 2013. Within that same period, the research revealed that in the UK alone, unemployment stood at 2.5 million. 2.5 million people in the UK were unemployed as at the end of the first quarter of 2013. The same research again revealed that as at the end of the first quarter of 2013, in the United States of America, there were a little over 13 million people who were unemployed. And I was very much interested even in knowing how the figures looks like in Africa. And of course, your guess will be as good as mine. In Africa, we had a little over 40 million people who were unemployed, out of which 60% constituted the youth. And that is serious. The question we must even ask ourselves is that, why is this xenophobia issue happening in South Africa? This unfortunate situation. It is happening because of lack of jobs. Local South Africans don't have jobs to do. And they feel that their fellow foreigners, especially the blacks, who have come from other countries, have come to take over the jobs that under normal circumstances should have been given to them. And that is the reason for the xenophobia. So if it tells you and I that, assuming the young people in South Africa had jobs to do, they will not become angry with other black foreign nationals working in their country. But they are angry because they feel that opportunities that must come to them is going to other black foreign nationals.
All right. I think we have more issues developing right here on Policy Desk. Mr. Paul Robson is taking us through very awesome analysis here. I'm sure you're also watching us in your homes. I think we have our first caller on the line. Good evening. Your name and where you calling from, please? Hello? 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 Okay, we are having our first caller. You can call into the show on 0302221149. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Please, your name and where you calling from?
I'm calling from Tumuapa West Region.
Okay.
And my name is Yaku Benumi.
All right. Please, you're live, sir. You can make your comment.
I'm really interested in the topic. Hello?
Yes, you are live. Please kindly go ahead. Okay. You can kindly call back on 030221140. Now let us get your submissions and contributions to this issue. Now there's a lot of disparity, regional disintegration in allocating resources towards ensuring equitable resource development regionally in the country. This is another aspect that we'll be touching on shortly. You know, Ghana's case, we keep hearing individuals migrating from the north to the south just because of the resources available in the infrastructure in the southern sector of Ghana. You always hear this narrative that there's more, when you get educated in the south, it's more probable. So you hear students even wanting schools in the high schools in the south. this whole case of ensuring that we have many centers of as a formidable infrastructure to enhancing our human resource development, why are we been lagging behind? If that is our priority, if our priority is to ensure everyone has an opportunity to make himself useful to the country.
Thank you very much. You see, if you go to the airport,
Yeah, hello.
Okay, I think we have another caller on the line. Please, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, please, I am Patrick Opam, and I'm calling from Central Region.
All right, Patrick, please, you have the floor now.
Yeah. In fact, I really like your discussion this evening, and it's really inspiring. This program I've seen, and I like some advice from your host.
Okay.
Your guest. You've seen the sanitation situation in the country as of today. We have various sanitation agencies and organizations trying to clean up the cities and the various towns for us. But there is this particular problem I've realized, and I've been working on this, and people seem not to be interested. I've seen that if it is something attitudinal and people have to be educated on it. Simple, not to litter, simple, putting the refuse in the dustbin. It's a simple thing that at least in our basic schools and everywhere we find ourselves in the country, we should know. But I'm trying to bring something out so that this education will at least will go nationwide for people to see how good it is for us to keep the environment clean. At least if you cultivate that habit, I don't think we're wasting much resources as a country on fighting cholera and other diseases that are easily preventable.
Okay.
So I'd like your best to give me an advice on how to move about my, because there are so many people, you have the district assemblies, the supporting assemblies, you have put them, and it seems the constitution is on tackling the waste and allowing people to litter, then they will come.
But Patrick, points well made there. Patrick, we get your question right there. We get your point. All right, I think we'll touch on shortly because it's a very important question you just raised there. I'm sure we'll be discussing it probably in a few seconds now. But if you're watching us in your homes, you can also join the conversation right here on Policy Desk on 030-2211-409. And to our viewers on Facebook, you just visit the page on Business Television Africa and like the page. You'll be having us live streaming on our page as well. And let's get interactive here on Policy Desk. Now, Patrick, shortly, let's deal with Patrick's case. He's asking about sanitation. He made mention of attitudinal pain that Ghanaians consistently have. Puts the dustbin, but the effort of just going close to the dustbin and putting in the refuse is a headache for just an individual. Now, you also made mention in your analysis that when we find problems, there's an opportunity. But sometimes opportunities becomes themselves another source of problem. How does Patrick, in his case, help transform this particular case? Should he be a leader in his community trying to bring about change, for instance?
Thank you very much. You see, every revolution starts with one person. Every revolution, if you check our history, world history, every revolution always starts with one person, because one person always has that vision and he shares it with one or two people who also tend to share in the vision. They share with another 2-3 people who also tend to share in the vision.
All right, I think we have another caller on the line. We're still going to be on this conversation shortly. Good evening. Your name and where you calling from, please? Hello?
Hello, good evening. My name is David.
Please, where are you calling from?
Kumasi.
All right. David, please, you're live on Policy Desk.
Hello?
Yes, you're live on Policy Desk. Kindly make your statement, sir. Kindly speak up, sir.
I'm calling from Kumasi.
Yes, you can make your comments.
Yes. Please. Thank you very much for the opportunity. You know, it seems to be like this country we are losing our focus. I want to use myself as an example. Currently, I'm doing my national service, and then when we want to do the registration to our various places for the national service, people, you realize that students or people who registered for the service, being the person an accountant or any other field, they will be giving you a different thing altogether. Meanwhile, for example, I had an opportunity or I had a dream for my career. This is what I want to do. I did maybe business administration, and I want to develop my career to a certain level. But they will tell you that go to the classroom to teach. And that is very, very, disturbing. So please, can we talk about that? Thank you very much.
Thank you too for calling. We are grateful there. We'll touch that shortly, the case of national service. So if you're watching us in your homes as well, you can join the conversation right here on BTA. The show is Policy Days, coming to you live on BTA. This is the case of vision. We are making mention of revolution, how an individual can make a change. Now, back to that.
Yeah, so the point I was making was that, you see, every revolution or change starts with one individual. And so with my brother, I perfectly agree with him that the problem we have when it comes to sanitation has to do with attitudinal change. And so he can begin a campaign. In fact, there are a number of campaigns I'm going to start. There are a number of campaigns I'm going to start very soon. And so he can also decide to champion that campaign. He has relatives, he has siblings, he has friends. He can begin to conscientize and educate these people. They will, and it's just, you can even pencil down a strategy that impact one person in a month. And so if I impact you in 1 month, it means that the next month the two of us must each impact one each. So one person, within 2 months, you would have impacted 4 people. Within 3 months, you would have impacted 8 people.
It becomes like a disease.
And so by the time you realize, it will be expanding. And by the time you realize, something that started with only one person would have impacted thousands of lives. And so my brother shouldn't sit at home and be waiting for anybody to come and give him any opportunity to do anything. He himself should take up the opportunity, should take up the challenge, and should start doing something. And he will be amazed the kind of results he would get. And let me say this, sometimes the things that even bring us into the limelight has nothing to do with what we studied in school. I think in 2009 or so, if my memory serves me right, there is a woman who won the Nobel Peace Prize Award from Kenya. This woman for years had served as a pro-vice chancellor in a university in Kenya. Her background was agriculture, and she was a pro-vice chancellor of a university. But how many people knew her? I didn't even know her. How many even Kenyans knew her? But this woman had a passion for tree planting. And so she started an NGO, and they began to travel from one village to another village, and all they were doing was to be planting trees. Eventually, this woman even had to voluntarily retire as a pro-vice chancellor and go full-time into this NGO, which had to do with tree planting. And on one of their tree planting exercises, some United Nations officials spotted her. And that was how come she was recommended for the Nobel Peace Prize Award. And eventually, she won the Nobel Peace Prize Award. Today, you and I know her simply because she won the Nobel Peace Prize Award. If she had remained in the university as a pro-vice chancellor, you and I probably would not have known her. And so, who knows? Maybe my brother taking that decision to begin to educate his contemporaries, his friends, his relatives, and what have you, with regards to sanitation, he may never know what kind of opportunities may open for him just because of this.
You know, I want to get this understanding, and let's address this particular important point amongst the youth. This perception that every work necessarily has to be paid.
Thank you very much.
Every youth in this country assumes that every work you do, you have to be paid. Now, sometimes I had this notion for a company when I completed university, I had this intention, mindset that, first of all, I have to do things voluntarily. So I was doing voluntary services, working for people, not for the money, but for the experience, for the gathering. But sometimes you meet your colleagues and they ask you that, how much are they paying? You said nothing, they are all surprised. How critical is this particular dimension of human resource development? Quite important.
Thank you very much. You have raised a very important point. You see, I once met one young guy in the university a couple of years ago. And this guy came to me and he said that he wants me to lay my hands on him and pray for him,
but
so that he can become like me. And I told him that what you are seeing did not happen in 2 days. Neither did it happen in 1 week. But it has taken years. I mean, some of us, it was our days in the secondary school, my days in Achimota school, when I had the opportunity to serve in various capacities. I got the opportunity to serve in various leadership positions. And even when it comes to my ability to communicate very well, it was because right in Achimota school, I became a vice president of Writers and Debaters Club. I was debating for the school. It didn't just start yesterday. I mean, right at the university. At the university, we're doing all kinds of things. We went to student politics. We also went to Christian fellowship. I mean, when I went to do my studies abroad, further studies abroad, I became president of Ghanaian Students Association. I mean, so at the end of the day, we were always engaging in activities. And so today, I can stand and speak for 2 hours, 3 hours without looking on any script. And you may think it's magic. It's not magic. It has taken over 20 years or over 15 years for us to be able to build capacity. And so capacity building doesn't come in a day. And one of the things that can help you to build capacity is voluntary work. Because mind you, if you do voluntary work and you are not paid, even though you are not paid, but you will still learn something. There are things you would learn which would stay and live with you for the rest of your life. Is it surprising that when you travel to the Europes and to the Americas and you are going for an interview, when they get to know that you have been involved in voluntary work, already you have an upper hand? Because if you have 5 people going for the interview, and out of the 5, you are the only one who has done voluntary service or voluntary work. 4 have never done any voluntary work. I mean, if you are able to do a bit well at the interview, the job is yours. Because the mindset is that if this guy was able to work for free and was not paid, then what output will he give when he is now being paid to work? Because if you have done voluntary work, it tells me that your motivation is not money. Because today, unfortunately for us, a lot of people, their motivation is money. And that is why, like you mentioned, we have a lot of strike actions. The strike actions are simply because our motivation is money. And if your motivation is money, it means that the day the money is not there, there is trouble. For instance, take marriages. If a woman marries a man simply because the man has money, the day the man loses the money, what happens to the marriage? The marriage will be in crisis. And so a lot of us, if we go in to work, and I have had several people, sometimes you interview them. I have interviewed many people, and sometimes the person doesn't even tell you what he wants to bring to the table. He doesn't even tell you. He doesn't tell you what he hopes to bring to the table. But then the first question he would ask you is that, how much are you willing to pay me? And the moment you even ask me how much are you willing to pay me, you have even put me off in the first place. Because I am going to pay you based on what you are bringing to the table. If you are not bringing anything to the table, why am I going to pay? Why should I pay you? I mean, if you go to the shop, you don't pay for nothing. If you go to the shop, you pay for what you take. So if you enter a shop and you take a mobile phone, You take you take one earpiece. You take one tablet, one laptop. When you go to the counter, you pay for that which you took. My brother, have you ever seen anybody who paid simply because he went window shopping? Have you ever heard anybody paid money because he went window shopping? Because when you go window shopping, it simply means you don't buy anything. You are only just going to check what is available, what is around, what the prices are, that kind of thing. So if you go window shopping, you don't pay anything. But when you go and you carry something, the moment you carry something, you pay for it. And so if you are bringing something to the table, then I'm going to pay you based on what you are bringing to the table.
This brings to fraud. What must an individual bring to the table to make him valuable to either the company or the nation that he lives in? That is the next aspect of the discussion we'll be having shortly right here on Policy Desk. So if you're watching us in your home, get your phones ready. The numbers again is 030-221140. Now you can also send your messages through the WhatsApp line on 0206-583-547. Let's go our first commercial break. We'll be right back with more right here on Policy Desk. Stay tuned. Is it really the case that new regime means new laws, new policies and new people to manage Ghana's economy? Are you satisfied with the way policies and laws are being implemented in the country? Well, no need to worry, as Policy Desk fills you in with socio-economic and political issues that needs attention to drive Ghana's developmental agenda. My name is Winston Nitaki and I'll be your host on Policy Desk. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 8 p.m. as we dig deep into issues of national interest. Policy Desk, implementation is what we advocate.
Hello everyone, it's my pleasure to invite you to our annual Golden Golf Invitational Tournament. This year we are having it from Friday 31st March to Sunday 2nd April at Coconut Grove Beach Resort at Elmina. On Friday, we'll be expecting our guests from 3 p.m. Please come early enough so you can have time to practice for the event. On the same Friday at 7 p.m. we'll have dinner. Indoor dinner with music to relax our guests. On Saturday morning, we are playing 18 holes. Tee-off time is 6:30, so be ready for it. On Saturday night at 7 p.m., we will have black tie formal dinner with sumptuous meals and music. You don't want to miss it. On Sunday morning, we play 9 holes from 6:30 in the morning to 11. Between 11 and 12, we'll have our awards and lunch. Local food, fufu, banku, and all the sumptuous meal you have been dreaming for. Coconut, you can't go wrong. And for our people, our golfers from Achimota, Kumasi people are coming in their numbers. This year, they are going to give you a run for your money. So golfers like Mr. Joe Ahime, Dr. Benu, they should get ready for the Kumasi Challenge. Our ladies are also coming from Achimota and across the nation, from Takwa and the rest. So see you there. Come let's compete. Come, let's network. Come, let's have fun. See you there.
Yes, this is Policy Desk Live on BTA. Assessing the human potential in Ghana is critical. So tonight we're touching on developing a world-class human resource case in Ghana. How you going out of this country where you can be competitive, compete with the people, like-minded individuals worldwide. You are an asset for the country. So how critical is your development? How well developed are you as an individual? We are touching on the various structures that are essential towards we attaining that particular goal. You can call into the show on 03022114009. My guest this evening is Mr. Paul Drapson. He's an entrepreneur, so he's had many experiences, many encounters. He's traveled worldwide, seen a lot of things developed, and also encountered many experiences. So this evening, I'm privileged to have him as my guest, and you also watching me in your homes. Let us get the things moving right here. I have some messages that have come through the WhatsApp line. This is from Frederick, sending a message from Asin Nyankomase. He says, "Hi, good evening. I do agree with your panel that every revolution starts with one person. So let everyone stand and start doing something to build Ghana." Thank you so much, Frederick. I'm taking your messages again. One says, "Thank you for the opportunity. Great show. This is my first time viewing BTA. BTA always on point. We need more of this type of education. We need thinkers in our societies, not mere reproducers of facts and figures in our educational system." This is Sam Fisher. Thank you, Sam, for sending your message. Another one says, thanks for such a wonderful program. I think, okay, before I read that, let me take next caller. Good evening. Your name and where you calling from, please? Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Please, your name and location, please.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, evening.
Thank you for the great work that you are
Please, could you speak out loud a bit, please?
I'm George.
Okay, George, please. All right.
Yeah, I'm George calling from Fusu.
All right.
I'm very much interested in the program that you are doing. Please, may I know how to identify my potentialities? Very good program.
Okay. That is a very important question. Thank you so much, George, for calling. You can also join the conversation right here on 03022114009. Keep calling, and the numbers are on your screens, and we'll definitely address all the questions that you surely have in mind right here on Policy Desk. This is from Odum in Agona Swedro says, "Thanks for such a wonderful program. I have been really inspired by your guest tonight. This man is supposed to be a consultant for a government to give special advice to one district to one factory policy." Yeah, I think that is a good choice there. Government, you keep watching, yeah? Like we always say, the government is you and I. So he's doing his part, you are doing your part. But that is a very important point there. Another one says, "Wow, I'm really enjoying today's program. This is a guide for today's youth, for us to live a stress-free life and also make our days more enjoyable." I'm Dominic from Ibuakwa. All right, thank you, Dominic. John from Kumasi says, "I'm grateful for your show and it has boosted my objective to great achievement." Thank you, John, for your message. Keep sending your messages through the WhatsApp line on 0206 583 547. We have another caller. Good evening. Good evening, sir. Hello? Okay. You can call back. Good evening, sir. Hello?
Hello.
Yes. Good evening. Your name and your location, please.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Mattia. I'm calling from Dabala Junction in the Motorway.
Wow. Okay. You're live, sir.
Yeah, I want to speak on a bit of the voluntary work as your guest is saying.
Okay.
I want to share a bit of experience.
Sure. Can you do that briefly? Briefly, please.
I completed senior high school in 2009. I started working with a company. I was working. The company was paying me, and it came to the time. The director decided not to pay again. So I left my task, and then said I should stop the work since I'm not getting the fruit of what I'm doing. But within my mind, I made up my mind that I want to know the practical know. I want to learn the skill so that in the future to come, I can also be on my own. So I was working, but he was always pushing me, hey, stop. I gave birth to you and hold on. I was like, no. Within myself, I know what I want. So I was always on point to get there. So in the year 2011, I had to go to school. And fortunately, to the job that I learned, where I work, I get a lot of experience. So when I get to school there, my brother, I have an upper hand over my colleagues. Now I have established. He didn't ask me, hey, my son, what did you get all this experience for? But all to the grace of God. Just that maybe he's not too enlightened to understand where I am thinking from.
Okay.
So I think doing the voluntary work is always on point. It makes you have a lot of experience, build your capacity, and always trying to give you that confidence to do whatever that you want to do.
Thank you so much.
That's what I want to share with you.
That is an awesome experience, an awesome inspirational story. Thank you for such sharing that with us. We are most privileged for your story and also your message here. You can also let us hear your take on 030-2211-409. Like we always say for God and country, you build me, I build you. We'll build our nation, make it a better place for you and I to live in from various aspects. Let me get your thought there. Another one says, I am Benin from Tumu. Allow Mr. Paul and talk on the topic. May Allah be with you. Okay, the message again, the numbers again is 0206-583-547. You can also be sending your messages through the WhatsApp line, and we'll also be addressing a lot of cases here. Now, another very important aspect which we'll be delving into, we'll touch before we delve on what I really wanted to tell. I guess one of our callers made mention of a very important aspect. That has to do with mentoring, the kind of mentor that we have. Some of us have our parents as mentors, others have pastors, others have leaders. What must you look out for in a mentor before you subscribe to him? Because sometimes we limit our mentors to just our parents because we kind of grew up with them. How is that important in developing our potential?
Thank you very much. You see, what you have said is very, very important.
I think before we come to that, it seems like our callers are really having the feel of the show. All right. Good evening, sir. Please, your name and location.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Mr. Musa.
Okay.
Calling from Bolka.
All right. Mr. Musa, please. Okay.
In your discussion, you left off the sanitation issue with attitude. I guess you were discussing our wrong attitude towards the thoughts that we create. I think all psychologists have told us that being salty has to do with toilet training. So, yeah, all the interventions people are talking of, if we don't go back to train children to grow during toilet training, then they would litter anyhow when they grow. There is a stage in their development where they feel ashamed of littering about, so they will suppress it. But unconsciously, that feeling to litter will still be there. And when they grow, the permissive thing is to throw things around when they are not seen, or to become talkative. At least something would come out from one of the orifices to indicate that they suppress something that they didn't completely develop. So toilet training by our mothers is a contributory factor, and we need to go back there.
Thank you so much for an awesome point being raised there. We're always learning every second, every moment here on Policy Desk, the most educative, comprehensively discuss issues right here for national development. Always that's the priority. We don't think about ourselves, we think about the nation. So if you are developed, you develop yourself for the nation. Information is key. You have to know where and how you get information. Talk to the right people and you get the right fact. And like we always say, we bring you the right people here on Policy Desk. So Mr. Paul, you're mentioning the case of mentoring.
Yeah.
how essential and important it is to identify the right mentors. Is he right to have multifaceted mentors, just focusing on this parent? How important is that case?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, just before I come to the mentoring, let me quickly say that I perfectly agree with what my brother just said. I mean, concerning this toilet training. I mean, I think recently, if you recall, there was a report that was released, and in that report, it revealed that Ghana is ranked number 2 in the whole world when it comes to open defecation. And so it confirms exactly what my brother said. Because if we are engaged in open defecation, it means that we are not receiving the proper training we need to receive at home. And so I perfectly agree with him when it comes to the issue on toilet training. Now back to the issue of mentoring. You see, in our part of the world, mentoring is something that we are not used to. In fact, even in this 21st century, we are still not used to mentoring. Even though some people, some organizations, some institutions, some individuals have attempted to empower people and to build capacity and to let people appreciate the need for mentoring and coaching, unfortunately for us, in our part of the world, mentoring and coaching is something that I would say is still at the birth stage. We have still not come to appreciate it. But mentoring is very, very important. What I always say is that when you have a mentor, what the mentor does is that the mentor serves as a guide. And once the mentor serves as a guide, the mentor is able to help you so that you do not make the mistakes he made. For instance, as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to have some successful entrepreneurs as mentors. Mm-hmm. When you are able to talk to them, when you are able to interact with them, they will tell you, some of them will even tell you some of the decisions they made, some of the mistakes they made, and the consequences of certain decisions they took. But if these people become your mentors and they mentor you and they guide you, you even avoid making the mistakes they made. The other thing is that there is nothing wrong in having more than one mentor. Because for instance, you may have somebody who may want to go into, let's say, somebody who may want to go into entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, that person probably may also be, let's say, playing some role in church, and probably may be aspiring to become an elder or a deacon or a pastor in church. You understand? And so, for instance, for such a person, maybe the entrepreneur who is your mentor may not have what it takes to be able to mentor you when it comes to you being able to rise to the top as a successful pastor or elder or church leader. You understand? And so, I mean, there is nothing wrong if someone has more than one mentors. But when it comes to mentoring, one of the major things to look out for, number one, is somebody who is not at your level. Your mentor should not be somebody who is your classmate that you are at the same level with. Your mentor should be somebody who is ahead of you. Somebody who has some expertise, some knowledge. Somebody who has had some encounters you've never had in life. And secondly, another thing is that we must also be able to define the role of a mentor and the role of the mentee. Sometimes one of the things you even discover is that you discover that a mentee may be even asking for money and favors from a mentor. It's not part of a mentoring process. It's not part of it. But if your mentor by himself wants to monetarily give you something to support your business, that's fine. That's coming from him. The initiative came from him. But unfortunately, sometimes you realize that what destroys the relationship between a mentor and a mentee is the fact that all of a sudden, a mentee calls his mentor and says, oh, can I get a loan of 100 cedis? Can I get a loan of 500 cedis to invest in my business? And from that moment, it begins to mar the relationship between the mentor and the mentee. So we also need to be very careful when it comes to even seeking for favors and asking for money and asking for all kinds of things from mentors. When we do this, it even discourages people from offering themselves as mentors. Because mind you, that mentor is mentoring you for free. You are not paying for that guidance he's giving to you. But if you were to go and sit in a classroom to learn certain things that the mentor probably may also tell you, you would have paid for it. And so when a mentor is offering his expertise, he's offering his knowledge, he's offering his wisdom, I think the least one can do is to ask for donations and favors from mentors. Because when that happens, it discourages mentors.
You know, you made mention in one of your interactions as we were having this evening, you said the first time you went to Nigeria was to speak to young, passionate individuals, and you impacted into them. That comes to mind, conferences and summits, as another option of human resource development. I had this impression when I was in Lagos. You see, anytime you see posters about conferences, summits, talking about leadership, entrepreneurship, the youth don't find it essential. They see it as another means for their money to be taken away from them. Even businessmen, business summit, they'll highly go there. But you know, one thing about is how important networking is.
Yeah.
And the kind of people you meet, the kind of conversation they speak, the kind of language they speak is different in those environments.
Yeah.
So how critical or what value do you think is quite important? Why should youth or individuals or business individuals try to come out of their comfort zone into new territories which have still not been explored according to...
Thank you very much. You see, my brother, you have raised a very, very, very important point, which if I had not spoken about this, then it would have been better if I had not even come at all. Because the issue is that I have been privileged to be invited on many occasions to speak at conferences, seminars in some of our universities. In fact, I've been invited by Nooks. I mean, one time when they were having their congress at the University of Education at the Kumasi campus, I was invited to speak at a seminar that was organized as part of their congress. And you could literally count the number of people who were sitting in the hall. I have been invited to universities to speak during SRC week celebration, and you can count. In fact, I was even invited some time ago to my own alma mater, Methodist University College, to come and speak at an entrepreneurship summit. They invited myself and the late Eva Loko, may her soul rest in peace. The two of us were the people who were invited to come and speak. I think at that time she was the running mate to Dr. Pakwesi Indum, if my memory will serve me right. And interestingly, we got there. They even wasted our time. Miss Eva Loko eventually left. She couldn't wait any longer. My brother, the people who came to sit at the hall were less than 50. But I was told that on Saturday there was going to be a beach party. So I became very interested that I will follow up on the beach party. So I think on Monday, after the SRC week had ended, I spoke to someone and I asked, how was the beach party? He said, oh, beach party. 9 buses left the beach. 9 buses left campus to the beach. And the 9 buses were 50-seater buses. So that brings it to 450 people. Now that does not include those who went with their own cars and gave their friends lifts. If we are to add those who went with their own vehicles and gave their friends lift, if we are to add all those people, not less than 500 people went to the beach. Each person was charged about 100 Ghana cedis to be able to just get on board to go to the beach. When they went to the beach, automatically they had to buy food, they had to buy drinks, they had to buy water. And you know that in those places too, food, water and drinks are very expensive. And so by the time anybody leaves the beach, the person would have spent a minimum of 200 Ghana cedis, because you would have paid 100 Ghana cedis as gate fee and another 100 Ghana cedis for food, drink and water. Meanwhile, when you are organizing an entrepreneurship or a leadership summit or conference and you tell them, come and pay 50 Ghana cedis to receive impartation, they will look at your face and, excuse me, foolishly and stupidly tell you that it is too expensive. And when they finish school and they don't have anything to do, they will come and cry and shout and scream and say that we have finished school and government is not giving us any jobs. Look, my brother, I was at Pentecost University College when I was invited a few years ago to speak during a program they organized dubbed Entrepreneurship and Trade Summit. My brother, when I finished speaking, 3 students came to me. One of them was a final year student. And he came to me and said, my brother, by the grace of God, I own a restaurant. And I said, wow. And he was telling me how he had been impacted by my presentation. I told him that because you have been impacted by my presentation, you must give me a free ticket to come and eat for free at your restaurant. But I was highly impressed that a final year student owned a restaurant. 2 other students came to me and they told me that they owned boutiques of their own. Final year students, they owned boutiques. I said, wow. Because I don't own a boutique. So I told them that then you have to give me free shopping voucher. Since you have been impacted by my presentation, you must give me a free shopping voucher to be able to come to your boutique and take 1 or 2 things and go home for free. And we all laughed over it. But I was highly impressed that these students, in their final years, were able to tell me that they owned restaurants, they owned boutiques. I was highly impressed. Meanwhile, you go to other places, like you said, you go to the Legons and what have you, and they will come and tell you it is expensive. Just 50 Ghana cedis to be impacted, they will tell you it is expensive. But when they tell them pay 200 Ghana cedis, we are going for a beach party in Adan, they will gladly pay the 200 Ghana cedis and they will not complain that it is expensive.
So are you saying our youth are losing focus towards developing their inner selves than just chasing about, like you always say, vanities upon vanity, things that don't last, but things that are not really adding value to themselves?
No, it's about priority setting. You see, I have always said this in some of my trainings and seminars. I have always said this, that you see, failure is a choice and success is a choice. I mean, if you want to fail, you choose to fail. If you want to succeed, you choose to succeed. And so when you decide to pay money to attend seminars, to attend conferences, you decide to spend money to buy books, to buy materials, to read, to receive knowledge, to receive impartation, and somebody decides to be using his money to be going for beach parties, to be going, for floats. I'm not saying that going for float or beach party, there is something wrong with it. Nobody should get me wrong. I'm not saying that going or patronizing some of these events is wrong. But what I'm saying is that if you don't see anything wrong in paying 200 Ghana cedis to go for a beach party or to go to a nightclub, because SR Civic Celebration, we are organizing a program at a nightclub, and you don't mind paying 200 Ghana cedis to go and dance and sweat at the nightclub and come back and come and sleep. But you have a problem to pay 50 Ghana cedis, 20 Ghana cedis to receive an impartation which will help you for the rest of your life, then your priority in life is wrong. And when you finish school and you don't have a job to do, or you don't have anything to do to earn a living, you don't have to blame the government, you don't have to blame your parents, neither do you have to blame your lecturers in school. You must blame yourself.
Indeed. We'll be taking some few calls, so you can call into the show on 030-2211-409. 3 more calls and will be it for the 9. But you know, one thing that I've also been assessing for some time now, following the spate of modernization, youth development, but it appears the case of, we are talking about human development. Now, the base aspect that has to do with getting especially women as part of our development, decision making, affirmative action, women empowerment. It appears when you look at the frontiers, especially in the business frontiers, we have only few women leading the frontiers. But the essence starts from the basic. At the moment, we have this challenge: child labor, child marriage, labor abuse, trafficking, people migrating to outside the country, young youth, just because the opportunities are limited in this country. How can we ensure that as countries, priority is placed on the lives of an individual from the basic to the secondary to the tertiary, and also to ensure at the point that poverty is alleviated, where individuals will not fall victim to these woes in life?
Thank you very much. You see, my brother, when we were very young in school, primary school, I remember very well that one of the subjects we studied was social studies. And I remember that in social studies, one of the topics that we learned at that time was socialization. And we were told that there are a number of factors that contributes to the socialization of a child. We were told that the home is one of the factors of socialization. The school is another factor of socialization. The religious institution is also another factor of socialization. Then the environment within which the child lives is also another factor of socialization. Now the question that we must ask ourselves is that all these factors of socialization, to what extent are they impacting on the socialization of our younger brothers and sisters? My brother, like you rightly said, today, because of sophistication, mother is busy going to work to chase money, father is busy going to work to chase money. So today, when it even comes to the role that the home is supposed to play in the socialization of the child, that is absent. Completely absent. Number two, parents even do not have an idea as to the kind of impact that the environment within which their children find themselves in are receiving. They don't even have an idea. Some parents do not even know who their children's friends are. They don't even know the kind of socialization that is impacting upon the lives of their children within the community they find themselves in. And all these factors contribute and play a major role when it comes to the development of a child. The home is the number one factor that contributes to the socialization of children. Unfortunately, today, a lot of parents have transferred their role to teachers. It is not the role of teachers to perform the functions of parents. Unfortunately for us today, there are a lot of parents who have neglected their role, and their roles are either played by teachers in school or their roles are played by house helps. Now, forgive me, if you go and bring a house help from the village who is not enlightened, what kind of socialization are you expecting that house help to impact your child with? And so these are fundamentals we need to pay attention to. If we really want our children to be able to develop in every area of their lives, then we, the parents, have a major role to play to ensure that, like I said in the beginning, we monitor our children to be able to observe the things they exhibit, the characteristics they exhibit at each stage of their development. Because when you are able to observe these things, it will help you to even know how to guide your children, how to impact them, how to guide them. But you see, my brother, sometimes I personally even have a problem with the way and manner some of our homes even contribute to the socialization of their children. For instance, Winston, if you see a 7-year, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old young girl wearing a dress that virtually exposes her, who will you hold responsible? The girl or the mother? I'm asking you.
I'm asking the questions.
No, but I want to hear you on this occasion.
All right, that will depend on the notion.
No, there's no depending, because the issue is that a 4-year or 5-year or 6-year-old girl at her stage does not buy her clothes. At her stage, her parents are the ones who buy her clothes for her. Most especially the mother may be the one who may be buying her clothes for her at her age. So if your child or your young girl is 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and you buy dresses that virtually exposes her, when your child now gets to the university, where she now buys her own clothes, should you be surprised as a parent when your child buys clothes that exposes her vital parts that under normal circumstances must be covered? Will you blame the child? No. Because when the child was young and did not have what it takes to buy her own clothing, you, the parent, taught her how to wear clothing that will expose her nakedness. Because at that stage, she was not buying her clothes. You were buying her clothes for her. So if at the time you are buying her clothes for her, you are buying things to expose her, when she gets to the stage where she has to buy her own clothes, she will buy clothes that will expose her. Okay. And so it tells you that the home and the parents have a major role to play when it comes to the socialization and the capacity building of their children.
Indeed. We have another caller on the line. Good evening. Your name and location, please. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, please, your name and location. Hello?
Oh.
Yes, you're live on Policy Dex. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
My name is Desmond, and I'm calling from Hotel Region Ho.
All right, please, you can make a comment.
I joined the show lately, but I'm really enjoying it. But actually, according to Mr. Paul, you see, events are now run in a way where fashion and all those things. So, I'll be suggesting if when maybe, how do I say this?
Go ahead.
If maybe you want to maybe do a business summit, why won't you just plan it away? Maybe the SLC week, you can just add it to the SLC week. Because these days we like chilling more than the books itself in school.
Okay.
And it's really a problem.
Since it's a problem, that is the problem. Since you know it is a problem, that is the problem. That is why we are here. That is a very serious one there. The problem is the problem, which we're touching on. Because if we love chilling, we love chasing happiness rather than sustainable long-term fulfillment in life, then we have an issue as a country. That is why we're here. Because, very important point that I'd like us to touch on shortly. There was a time when I was coming up, and anytime I pass by somewhere, I'm holding a book. People ask me, how come every day you're holding a book? And I ask them, every day you're walking, don't you hold a phone? How many times do you go on Facebook? Every day, the site itself is called Facebook. You are there looking at people's faces. So if I'm holding a book, it's also called a book, but this time around without a face, but with words. Therefore, my mental capacity building is essential to myself. So you've spoken at length about social building as one of our development. You've spoken at length about spirituality, that is mentorship, person who we mentor to champion or build ourselves towards. That is, we emulate some of their attributes they teach us and control us. But in the case of mental development, now the youth, due to technology, it appears everywhere they pass, someone is either chatting. And sometimes, too, the grammatical errors is something not to take home about. And the kind of conversation that goes on social media, some of them are not enlightening enough to ensure that what you read impact you directly. But before we come that shortly, I think we have a caller on the line. Good evening, please. Your name and your location. Hello?
I am Seth Akitebi.
Could you please speak out loud, please?
I am Seth Akitebi
Okay.
from Masikutima, far away in the Wuta region.
All right. Please, you can make your submission.
I am actually enjoying what your guest is saying.
Mhm.
I just want to remind you, he had wanted to create a scenario by starting before you go to the airport. I just want to remind you to tell us what you have got about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. There, we get your first one. You've been listening.
I think my brother is very smart, and
Yeah.
and it's an indication he's been following the program. I think, as I was about to make that point, I think a caller might have called through, and,
Yes,
and it escaped me. But basically, what I was going to say was that if you go to the airport and you have the time, and you go and spend about 3 hours at the departure hall, and you get another time, and you go and spend another maybe 3 hours at the arrival hall, you will discover that majority of those leaving Ghana are Ghanaians. And when you go to the arrival hall, you will discover that majority of those arriving are foreigners. The question you and I may have to ask ourselves is that why is it that majority of Ghanaians are leaving and majority of foreigners are coming in? Simply because the foreigners have seen opportunities in our countries which they have come in to come and take advantage of. And we are also leaving because we think that there are no opportunities here and we are going abroad to go and seek greener pastures. And unfortunately, sometimes that is what happens when people get there and they have nothing to do. And for 10 years, 15 years, somebody is in Europe and doesn't build a career, doesn't build anything. He comes back home and he has nothing to do.
Is that what we're saying in most of the Libyan countries moving to Europe, seeking greener pastures? Some are even dying in the serious Mediterranean every day. Even just more than 500 people lost their lives every week. Over 1,000 lives have been lost. Let me get some callers on the line. Good evening, please. Your name and location. Hello.
Good evening. Hello?
Yes, your name and location, sir.
I'm calling from Consulate.
All right. Please kindly make your submission, sir.
You're talking about human resources and then in case of Ghana. In Ghana, one thing I've realized about is we don't concentrate much on human resources. We don't make use of our human resources at all. That's one of the reasons why we follow many challenges in the country. Because as compared to the European countries, what they do is, though they have the other resources, but they make use of the human resources more, or they pay much attention to the human resources than the other resources. But here in Ghana, we pay other way around, if I may say. So what I'm urging the authorities is to pay much attention to, because when we make good use of the human resources, we'll be able to use the other resources profitably. That's what I may say. And then I would like to check this in maybe it's not, though it's not part of the topic of discussion. Those who are completing the national service this March, I want to ask the authorities, what are they doing to them? Because the former president extended added 6 months to their period of service.
Okay.
And it is ending this March. So I want to know what this government is doing to them. Thank you.
That is an open question, so anyone can answer other than us. But it's a good analysis there. Thank you so much for that submission. We are most grateful for you calling to the show. You know, we'll come to the case of national service, but let's think, because of time, let us talk about the reading aspect. The mental development aspect is quite critical and essential to our human resource development potential.
Yeah, you see, my brother, thank you very much. When it comes to human resource development, there are a number of stakeholders. The parents certainly have a role to play. Your teachers in school may have a role to play. But you, the individual, also have a major role to play. I mean, for instance, when it comes to going to school, your parents' role is to pay your school fees and make sure they provide you with the pocket money and everything you need to make you comfortable. Pay for your books, buy your books for you to go to school. Your teacher's job is to come and impact you with knowledge. But when it comes to writing examinations, it is your responsibility to study, to go and write your examinations and pass. If you fail your examinations, it will not be the doing of your parents, because they play their role. It may not be the doing of your teachers, because they might have played their role.
All right. Now to our final caller for the night, like we say, so that we get the last part of the conversation moving. Yes, please. Your name and location, please.
Hello.
Yes, you're live on Policy Dex.
Hello.
You're live, sir. You can make your submission. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir. How are you? Okay. Unfortunately, the line just went out there. So, unfortunately, that happened to be our final caller there. So, now we're taking the final submission from my guest, Mr. Paul Dobson, here with us here in the studio, taking us through a very insightful, educative conversation here on Policy Deck. So, you're making a submission about the case. Your point.
Yes, I mean, what I was trying to say was that everybody has a role to play. There are a number of stakeholders when it comes to human resource development. And the individual also has a major role to play. But the interesting thing is that today, a lot of individuals do not play much role when it comes to their own human capacity development. And so, for me, I believe strongly, because like you rightly said, I mean, my brother, let's face the reality. I have had the privilege and the opportunity to review many CVs. And a lot of these CVs normally come from graduates who have either completed their polytechnic education or their university education. Even in some cases, they might have completed their master's program. And my brother, if you see some of the CVs, you may feel like throwing up. If you see some of these CVs, you may ask yourself that, was this CV put together by a university graduate, or it was put together by a primary school boy or girl? Because people are not learning. A lot of people are not learning. And excuse me to say, there are people who may even come for interview and pardon me, but they cannot even construct one sentence correctly without making a grammatical error. Of course, the English language is not our language. We are all learning. None of us have attained perfection. In fact, I learn new dictions virtually every day. And so it tells you that we don't know it all. We still learn on a day-to-day basis. So like you rightly said, if you are able to read, the more you read, the more it helps to improve upon your ability to speak good English without making too many grammatical errors. Unfortunately for us today, many people will prefer to watch soap operas, telenovelas, as against reading a book. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching telenovelas, because if I don't correct that, our ladies will kill me before I leave the studio. But I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. But the point I'm making is that if you can spend all your time watching telenovelas, but you cannot spend quality time to read a book to impact you, to give you knowledge, to build your capacity, then there is a problem. And let me conclude by saying that the reason why when you come to Africa, and this time around I'm not limiting it to Ghana, the reason why when you come to Africa you will discover that our natural resource sector is controlled by foreigners is because of two things. Number one is human resource, number two is financial capital. But of course, financial capital can be acquired. You can get a loan from somewhere, you can get a grant from somewhere, but you can't go and loan human resource. So it is not surprising that in Ghana, if you look at our gold sector, Ghana makes close to nothing from our gold sector. If you take our oil industry, we in our own country, we own 13.6% of our own oil in our country. If you go to Ivory Coast, they own just about 15% of their own oil find in their own country. If you remember, I think a couple of months ago, our former president even made mention of a situation where an oil company, I think a local oil company, won a contract and was supposed to employ about 300 welders. And it's not just some of these wayside welders. I mean, these are specialized welders that the industry needs. And out of the 300, they were only able to employ about 100 and something, simply because they just couldn't find people who had that expertise. So it tells you, my brother, even our oil sector in Ghana here, catering services is offered by foreign companies. A foreign company is offering services to Tullow Oil. A lot of our oil companies here, there are foreign companies offering catering services. Now this should tell you something. If you have foreigners offering catering services simply because, not because they know how to cook better than our local people, but because they may have some certification that our local people may not have. And at the end of the day, they are giving opportunities to the detriment of our people. So for me, I believe strongly that as a nation, if we really want to be able to take over our natural resources sector, if we want to take over, because there's what we call ownership and control. You can own a resource and you may not control it. And that's exactly what is happening. We own the resources and we don't control the resources. But if we can begin to pay attention to human resource development, my brother, a time will come when Ghana as a nation, we will not need experts to come from the Britons and the France and the Germanys, simply because we will have the experts here in our own country. Just like Osadifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, that the African is capable of managing his own affairs, and I 100% believe in that. But it will only be possible when we are able to build capacity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Dromson.
Thank you for having me.
It's really been a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I think we'll do this more often another time, because like
Definitely.
we say, for God and country, building the country is our priority. And to you who made call, who called into the show, we say thank you for calling. And to all those who send their messages through the WhatsApp line, you are our priority. We give you the best insightful analysis from objective perspective. And my guest this evening has been Mr. Paul Dromson. He's an entrepreneur. So any questions, any suggestions, anything you want to know, just visit my page on facebook.com/Winston Taki, or you can visit our website on www.businesstv.africa.com. Just send me, follow my page, just like it, and you know what topics will be coming up shortly by Monday. Just follow my page, and I always provide you insightful issues that are critical for our national development. Like we always say, BT will bring you the best policy that comes to you on Mondays at 8 p.m. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and on Fridays at 8 p.m. 3 times a week, we give you this tablet for national building. We inform you in terms of the policy direction. What is really important that you and I need as a country to make Ghana a better place. I'm going to conclude with a quote that says that a nation should first build its nation. In order to build a nation, we must build ourselves as individuals. That should be the priority. The nation first will build its people before it can build itself. Without the people, we don't have a nation. You are Ghana, I am Ghana. To make a Ghana a better place, you must be a better person. My name is Winston Ni Taki. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye. Is it really the case that new regime means new laws, new policies and new people to manage Ghana's economy? Are you satisfied with the way policies and laws are being implemented in the country? Well, no need to worry, as Policy Desk fills you in with socio-economic and political issues that needs attention to drive Ghana's developmental agenda. My name is Winston Ni Taki and I'll be your host on Policy Desk. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 8 p.m. as we dig deep into issues of national interest. Policy Desk, implementation is what we advocate.